So I would like to welcome everyone for joining us today. Thank you so much for being here. We've got some great information to cover on how to know when you're ready to test. And I don't know about you, I have a little bit of test anxiety, so this is something that I definitely struggle with. So we want to make sure that you feel confident. Here at NHA, we want you to know that we are fully invested in the success for all of our candidates. We're here to help make sure that no matter what your background or needs, that you have that confidence and you feel empowered to know where your resources are and sit for your certification exam when you're ready. So again, confidence is a major hurdle for myself and for many learners. So today's goals are to ensure that you know how to use all of the tools potentially available for you as you prepare. So to help, you should know that NHA is the largest allied healthcare worker certification organization in the industry. We have over 1 million certified candidates, and we provide certifications as well as learning resources for your entire journey. So let's talk a little bit about those 8 nationally accredited certifications. 5 of those fall on kind of the practitioner side of frontline healthcare. This includes medical assistant, phlebotomist, pharmacy technician, EKG, and patient care. We also have 3 certifications for more administrative work. So these include billing and coding, medical administrative assistant, and e-records. Now, in addition, NHA does have comprehensive learning tools around the key objectives for the professions that we serve. But today, we're going to focus on the reporting and resources for those 8 certifications to help identify the best ways to prepare and feel confident on exam day. So I wanted to do a little bit of a get to know you here first. I am just going to launch a quick poll here. So you should see a poll up on your screen. I'm curious to find out a little bit about you. So which best describes how you're preparing to test? There's several options here. Are you doing this on your own, not really associated with an employer program or educational program, through a post-secondary program? Maybe it's a CTE focused training program. There's also an employer-based or other. And if it's other, post it in the chat so we can see kind of where you're coming from. Give everybody a chance here. We got about half of you. I love seeing this data come in real time. This is great. Anybody else want to ante in? Almost everyone. I'm going to close this poll down just a second. All right. There we go. So if you want to see, we have people representing every walk, every option. Looks like the majority of folks might be either on their own or through some academic-based program, but that's okay. We've got resources that can help no matter where you are, what your journey looks like. So thank you for sharing that with us. So learning and preparing for your nationally accredited exam is a journey. Wherever you are in this process, we're going to look at some of the key things you can do to know you're ready to become NHA certified. We're really excited to help you with this. Now, as we're getting started, I'm actually going to post one more poll here. Let me just pull that up. There we go. So you might have to scroll. There's a couple options in here. You can see a scroll bar on the side, but what are you most hoping to learn today? And there's several different options here. Just pick the one that you really, really want to make sure that we walk away with. Not only hopefully will this help me make sure that I say it, but it gives us information about what you really want so we can continue to create resources to help you. So take a quick minute, look through all these different things. Love this. This is great. Got about half of you here. And I saw a couple of options in the chat for some alternatives. Excited for people finally, hitting goals and reaching those dreams that they've had of working in healthcare. It's very exciting. All right, almost everybody is here. Someone posted in the chat, all nice. So I totally understand. It looks like that the majority of folks are, of course, wondering about preparing to test. This makes a lot of sense. What are the biggest things I can do? These are questions that we have. I'm going to do my best to cover as many of these items as possible for you as we go through. So let's take a look at our agenda for today. Ooh, and my screen just froze. Give me just that. Oops. Okay, hold on. There we go. There it is. So this is the general outline of what we're going to try to cover today. One of the biggest questions we get is, how do I know I'm ready to take my exam? And today we're going to try to uncover that answer. We can see and monitor candidates across the country, and we can see that how they prepare can really make a big difference. So we've taken those observations and we've created this content to help, cover these primary things. So let's start with one of the biggest questions that we get is, how do I know what's going to be on the test? Well, we can't actually tell you the exact questions you're going to have, right? That wouldn't be ethical, but we definitely have resources to help. The place to begin is to understand what it means to earn your certification. So this is different than earning a certificate of completion. A certificate of completion shows that you've finished training, usually through like an educational institution. So think about earning a high school diploma is earning a certificate of completion. A certification is earned through a national agency, usually by taking and passing an exam. So think about the difference of going to medical school and becoming a doctor. Well, you aren't a doctor just because you graduate from medical school. You have to study for and pass a pretty intense exams to earn your license. So it's a different process, both important. So when looking to get your national certification, it's really important also to double check that it's an accredited one. Okay, but what does that even mean? Well, having an accredited certification like those with NHA means that you're being tested on stuff that's been evaluated at an industry level. Not just what we think you should know, but what the industry says you need to know. Not all certifications are accredited. So always make sure that yours is. This can make a big difference for potential employers. The NHA exams are accredited through a program called the Institute for Credentialing Excellence. There's lots of initials here, but basically it means that the certifications themselves are nationally recognized and accredited. In addition, our certifications are recognized by the largest program accreditations. So all this is to say is that you can feel confident in your decision to partner with NHA and earn your certification. So, as you continue in your educational journey, always do your research. A quick browse on any organization's website, like NHA's, which we see here, should bring up the ability to see their accreditation status. So, always do your research beforehand to make sure that the certification you are earning actually stands for something in the industry. Okay, I'm going to throw out another quick poll here. Just curious. So I mentioned all 8 of our certifications. Again, there's a scroll bar on the right-hand side. Which one are you preparing for? And if you're preparing for more than one, which totally happens, what's the first one you're going to be testing for? I'm just curious to see kind of who's with us today. What are the certifications that we're looking at? And do feel free to scroll down. And there is an option way at the bottom. I saw this in the chat earlier that you're attending as an educator or administrator. Feel free to post that there as well so we can just see kind of who's with us today. All right. Oh gosh, you guys finished that really fast. I got almost everybody already. Great. I'm going to go ahead and end this poll here. And it looks like we've got a lot from almost every single certification: phlebotomy, medical assistant, billing and coding, farm tech. Fantastic. Well, so excited to have you guys with us today. Let's talk a little bit now about what that test plan really is. So understanding the test itself is key, and the test plan is where you start. This is the blueprint or the outline of the exam itself. And it's how you can see an overview of the topics and concepts that you will be tested on, as well as the number of questions on the exam in that topic. Knowing how this works and what you'll be tested on is an important part of preparing. All of the test plans are available to download on our website. They're also included in supplemental stuff within our study materials. But all you need to do is locate the certification from our website that you're studying for, scroll to the bottom of that page, and you can download the test plan for free right from there. So really easy to get to. But how will you be scored on the exam? Well, taking a look at the test plan outline, you should know that everybody who takes this exam will follow this exact same blueprint. The scored items outline the series of skills and knowledge that will be on the test itself. There will be questions on the exam that we don't score, and you won't know which ones those are. So be sure to answer all of the questions to the best of your ability. So everyone who takes this test follows the test plan, but you might not all have the same questions. There's a variety of possible questions you might receive in each category. So to score each tester fairly across a range of possible questions, everything has been reviewed through a series of evaluations that really include primarily how hard is this question? What's the likelihood you're going to get it right? Other pieces are included, like how often are you going to be asked to do this thing, or how important is it you get it right the first time? So these are just different layers, but what they do is they evaluate them, and every exam has a maximum of 500 points that you can get. So depending on how that question weighs out, you have the potential to earn a total of 500 points on the certification exam. So the minimum to earn that certification is 390 or higher. So even if you miss by 1 point, for example, getting a 389, that doesn't necessarily mean you missed one question, but that after all of your answers were reviewed, that your score didn't quite make the minimum to pass. So just so you know, it's not an A, B, C, or 70% to pass. It's a different kind of process. So now that you know what you need to prepare for and how you'll be scored, the next thing is to do the work. So NHA is here to help with that. And that really begins on the study material. So depending on if you're in an academic program or wherever you are in your learning journey, you may have purchased or been provided NHA specific exam prep materials. Now, these are designed and based on the test plan itself. The full prep package includes an online study guide, a series of practice tests, personalized reporting tools, and a special personalized tool called the Focused Review. So we're going to talk a little bit about these. As we look over this a little bit, you may want to know that we recently completed a survey of over 6,000 certification holders. And on average, they wished they had studied with NHA's materials earlier and more frequently than they did prior to testing. In addition, those who used these materials were more likely to earn their certification in their first exam attempt. So just priming that up a little bit. All right, I'm going to have another quick poll. I know I'm asking for a lot today. I appreciate you. Here we go. Do you have the NHA exam materials? Where do you stand with that? Yes, I have them. No, but I'm getting them. I'm not sure, but I would like to have them. I've purchased them on my own. I don't know. I didn't know they were available. Whatever works, right? I just read them all out loud for you, but I'm sure you guys can all get there. So take a quick minute and read through these, and let's see if it's other. Let us know. Post that in the chat. Curious to kind of hear from you guys about the prep. Got about half of you here. Great. And there's no wrong answer. We're just curious to see who's with us and what you have access to. So the data is looking like we've got the majority of people here who have the exam study materials, which is great. If you don't, that's okay. We're going to talk a little bit about what those are. So kind of have a whole wide variety of things with the folks who are with us today. Fantastic. All right. Well, let's talk about those a little bit. So many programs and or employers will actually provide these directly, as you may have experienced, but not all. So whether you choose to purchase these for yourself or if it's provided through your program, once you have them, you can access them through your My Courses or My Materials links in your NHA account. Now, if this is being provided through your program before you log in, check in with them. They may have a special process for you to create your account, to log in. So just make sure you're connecting with your institution first because they may have expectations of you. So just wanted to let you know. Now, to follow our what we would define as best practices, we do suggest that you start with your study guide. Now, this is the same for all but those who may have a baseline assessment. Some of our materials have something called a baseline, which you can take first. Again, follow your institution's guidelines for what they're expecting of you. But other than that, we would recommend beginning with your study guide. It has a lot of great features, and they may look different depending on which material you have, but they're all really similar features, and we're going to highlight a couple of them. No matter what, everything will always give you kind of main categories or sections. Each one of these is aligned to core content area from the exam. It's not enough to study on its own. This isn't a textbook, right? So you definitely need to keep your grades up or do that work experience that you're doing, whatever that is. But what these do is walk you through how NHA talks about these materials and how we're going to test you on it. Additional features, we have some activities and games. There will be checkpoints, assessment tools, and then you'll also have glossary terms. There'll be flashcards and even some professionalism videos. These are a huge help to understand what's expected of you in your role. Not just can you do the job, but are you a good employee? Now, some of you, it may look a little bit different. These are some other materials, these are our newest materials for medical assisting, for example. Same idea. You access your menu right from the top, and then you can open all of those different supplemental pieces. You can see all of the resources, the breakdowns, the videos, the glossary terms, all right from there. Once you have access to your study materials, NHA does have a flashcard app to help you with your learning. So any programs that have flashcards in those study materials, you can download this app and your available flashcards will populate and you can keep organized, play around with it, study, and this is available for both Android or Apple. You can, whichever works best for you for your mobile device. So depending on that, we've got some walkthroughs on our website just if you want to use those. These don't cost you anything. They're just in addition to accessing those study materials. So once you've worked through the lesson, you should then take the quiz tied to that chapter to see how much you remember. These are designed to look and feel as close to the practice tests and the actual exam as possible. However, they're just in this one core area, so you can see how ready you are to move on to the next area. Now, when you do this, you're not just going to find out if you got the question right or wrong, but you'll see the reasons behind it. Why was this right or wrong? And because you're given the answers, we really don't recommend you take the quiz over and over and over again. Memorizing these answers is not going to help you. We want you to take this information and use it to study more before moving into the next module. Now, once you've gone all the way through the study guide, it's time to test your readiness for your exam by taking that next practice assessment. If you've already completed the baseline, no worries. Start with your next available test. And these are designed, again, to look and feel as close to the exam as possible. You're taken through several different test versions and will always have a total of 6 practice test attempts. Now, just like with the quizzes, just because you get a whole bunch of these, doesn't mean you should try to take them all and memorize questions. These are designed to help you prepare and study. Each of these attempts is the full test blueprint, but don't expect that these exact questions will be on the certification test. They're designed to follow that test outline and give you feedback, reporting, and additional tools to help you study. Your program may turn on or off that instant feedback that you saw for the quizzes. We suggest that you try for at least one of the practice tests to be as close to a real exam as you can create. Time yourself, right? Try to get those rationales deactivated. It's not important that you take all 6 of your attempts, but that you study in between. So though you get 6 total attempts, it's those who do at least 4 and do proper study that have a higher possibility of passing their actual exam. So after each practice test attempt, you get a personalized score report, and you can see how you did in each core area. Now, we're not going to tell you what question you missed, but what competencies you should work on. We want to make sure that you go back and study on those areas that you haven't quite mastered yet. And this is how you can do it. You access your focused review right from here. You can come back at any time, access it over and over again. But what this does is helps you study on just those pieces that you missed questions on. You should spend time in this review as well as in any other program materials that you have before taking your next practice test. So the focused review is a different study tool specific to your one practice test attempt to help you focus on those areas you may still be struggling in. This really helps for you not to shy away from reviewing your mistakes. It's the best way to challenge yourself on the stuff that you still need to work on. And this helps you do it without having to do anything. It is filterable. It is printable. You can go back and highlight areas if you like. I know some people make flashcards out of it. It's just an extra tool to help you get some additional studying before your next attempt. So now we're going to get into the real key of your success, and that's understanding how to see what you've done, how you're doing, and what you should be doing next. So I'm going to use a pretend candidate for our material, Davian Foster. So nothing that we see here is a real person, just so you know. This is a pretend view of this person's outline. So the moment you start in your study materials, NHA begins to monitor your progress. You can see this catalog in your module. There's a time spent log in the upper right-hand corner. Now this clock will reset for every login. So each time it'll start at 0, but your full timestamp is loaded. So to view your reporting for your study guide, you'll see that your lessons are here. You can select to expand them, and that will give you some different things, including our suggested time in study, your most recent access date. Now, this information bar may not be there anymore, so if that's missing, don't stress out. I think we've taken that down for now. We want to make it better. So if that's not there, don't worry about it. Okay, so this is going to show you all those different pieces. If you really want to see what you want to focus on, in the upper right-hand corner is your progress report highlighted there in yellow. This is what's really going to give you some detail on what you still need to work on. Practice tests look really similar. You can expand any assessment to see an overview of your completion, including your score and accuracy. We'll also give you our time that we would suggest you spend in the focused review and access to that review right from here. There'll be an outline of each topic you missed at least one question on. And then again, selecting that same progress report will take you to your details of your reporting. And this is really helpful for you to see what you've done. So this is going to be a full overview of your access to any materials included in your course. It starts with your week at a glance. What you've done, for how long, it's your news feed, right? What's going on there? You can see your study guide overall usage, as well as your trends in your studying. Are you studying more or less than the last few weeks? Also, your time in your flashcard app if you use it. You'll see any practice test information. And then scrolling down, you can also, there's your practice test information. You can also see modules, assessments, and suggested review categories, all here in more detail. So let's take a look at these. Reviewing your modules, you can see the details for quizzes as well as session history. So you can see one or the other. You can see how many logins you've had, as well as your quiz scores. So just depending on which you're looking at, session history or quizzes. You can also get more information on your practice tests by clicking on assessments. Let that go. There we go. Here you can see how accurate you were with information on your overall score and suggested and completed time in the focused review. You can also access that review right from here. You'll be provided how much time you spent on each question. Now, this is actually a really important part of testing success. Truly taking the time to read each question fully, as well as all answers provided, and working through to discover the most right answer is a really important step to not only test taking strategy, but pacing yourself for your exam. You don't want to spend too long in any given question, but at the same time, spending too little may be worse. So the last tab we have is your suggested review category. So this will populate after your practice test attempt, and it's going to give you suggested content per core area from the exam in an alphabetized list. So right here, we're looking at administrative assisting from the CCMA 3.0 practice test. That's the current one or the new one, which you can see will be 8% of the scored items on the test. That's from the test plan. So that's how that's broken down. You can choose your content area or even just view those where your score fell at or below a certain percentage of accuracy. Now, this is evaluated differently than the exam. This is just telling you how accurate you were, percentage-wise, is not the same as the weighted scoring we talked about for the actual certification exam. Sorry, look at that. You can see that's how you can show those topics. There we go. Want to make sure you can see all those different pieces. So there is no perfect score to get on a practice test that will ensure you pass your exam. The important thing that you're really looking for here is growth from one assessment to the next. It's your time in study, both before your practice tests as well as in between, that really make all the difference. We want to see you improving, and it's the studying that will get you there. Okay, it's a really important piece. Okay, so I'm going to ask, since so many of you do have the study materials already, I'm going to ask one more poll here. How many of you have taken an NHA practice test from your study materials that you have? What do you think? And that's okay. Again, there's no wrong answer. If you post that in the chat, let us see. Again, if it's because you're an instructor who's just watching for your students, no worries. Just curious to see who's with us. All right, got about half of you here. Anybody else want to ante in on this one? All right. There we go. So it looks like if we combine the first two, right? Many of you have taken at least one, if not multiple, and the other half of you haven't taken one yet. So it's pretty much half and half with practice test usage. No worries. Make sure you follow the guidelines for your institution so that you're following what they want you to do. But thanks for answering that. I appreciate that. Now, keep in mind that you are unique and working to prepare for your test, again, either on your own or through a program, right? The practice test reporting is going to show you percentage of scores, total correct out of total questions. This is to help as you work through areas you may be weaker in or haven't mastered yet. Use this report to define what you study next, not to define if you're ready to test, because NHA's exam scores are designed to compare you against a much larger group, the entire country. So your certification test and practice tests don't show you the same kind of scoring. We are gauging your readiness to move into your new role and career, using those scaled scores to help us define your ability to start your job day one. So this is why we don't really recommend you focus on the score and instead focus on your growth, on improving that practice test score through review and study, not memorization. All this studying and hard work takes time. Knowing what to do, when to do it is an important piece of making sure that your exam day is successful. I mean, surprises are great when it's your birthday, but not when you're sitting for an exam. So test anxiety is real and we know it. There are a few key things to remember that will help. Now that you've done all of your studying preparation, much of your worry should be lifted, though I get it. I struggle with test anxiety. But let's take a look at your timeline, right? This is what we've talked about so far. And that starts with getting into your study materials as soon as you can in your program or with your institution. Again, many provide these, but not all. So talk with your institution first to double check. And if not, they are available for purchase on our website. So from there, if you have a baseline assessment, feel free to do that. But either way, we recommend that after that point, you really focus on study guide and quizzes. using this material strategically, along with any course content or program content to bridge that gap between your schoolwork and the exam requirements. When you're ready, take that next practice test. Again, if possible, as close to a real exam environment as you can create. Time yourself if you can. You want it to feel like a real test if you can. The focused review is that separate study tool that comes along with each practice test and your personalized reports to help you focus your studying in between. So, this ensures that you take the time you need to continue to work in those areas that you struggled in before the next assessment. When we're talking about studying, some of this planning means planning ahead, right? Preparing over a period of time, not just the week before. That's not going to do it. Real learning takes dedication. And it helps to start by establishing study goals. Stick to them. Set certain times each day. You take a bite out of the study. Nobody expects you to do this overnight. Studying on your own is essential, but it can also be really helpful to have a study group or partner. You remember things differently when you work through it together, and it can help. Groups help for you to teach concepts you're comfortable with to others or vice versa. It provides a new way of looking at a concept. And it helps it stick differently in your brain through the shared experience. So have a friend or a buddy help as you work through your preparation. If you don't have anyone to help, let NHA be your partner. Download that flashcard app and use it to help you with those kind of key concepts from each module. Now, another piece of this is preparing for the test day, and that is applying for the exam as early as is realistic, as early as you can. There's usually program requirements for you to meet, but the last thing you want is to miss an application deadline. So be sure to apply for that test as soon as you're able, ideally at least 2 weeks before your scheduled test date. Now, if you're testing on site at your institution, that availability that to register closes the week before. So again, as soon as possible. If you're testing through our third party testing, PSI, or with remote proctored exams, your applications do expire if you don't test within a 6-month window. So there is a limit to how early you should apply for your test, but we do want to do it early if possible. Now, the day before the exam, assemble everything you need, right? Your ID, your pencil, your watch, set your alarm to be sure you arrive early. You will feel better knowing you're ready to go. And I know it's hard, but don't cram the day before the exam. Last minute study sessions actually can increase test anxiety, which does not help with your ability to take the test. Now, this might sound silly, but getting a good night's sleep and eating a healthy meal can really help with your body to feel prepared. So does staying positive, making sure the things you're saying to yourself are kind. They've actually proven it that scientifically, you remember bad things about yourself easier than good. Great, right? So fill your mind with the thought that you can do this. It will help you. Planning ahead also includes being sure that you know your NHA login and password. And don't forget your ID. In the days before your exam, be sure to check that you have these. You don't want to, you'll be on a different computer, right, than you've been studying with, and you won't have your saved logins. And you don't want to be stuck in a testing center and not being able to test because you can't log in. So double check those pieces. Now, no matter how or where you're testing, be early. Testing at your location, your institution, still means you should show up early. Be prepared. Know the room you're testing in when the exam starts. If you're testing at PSI, know where you're going. Allow extra time for traffic, parking, walking into the building. If you're testing with remote proctoring through PSI, there are several steps here to make sure that your computer is compatible. Your test space is ready. We have lots of resources to help you with that, as well as with any of your testing methods. Okay, so I've prepared. I'm going to start with at the exam. So number one, don't get discouraged if you don't know an answer during the test, but don't skip it. There will be, as I mentioned earlier, questions on your exam that NHA doesn't score, and you're not going to know which ones they are. So if you're unsure, rule out the wrong answers first. Use your knowledge to answer to the best of your ability. If you must, bookmark it to review at the end if there's time. It's a timed test and bookmarked questions aren't submitted. So be sure that you go back and submit them. It's important that you get all the way through. So it's one of those pieces. You don't want to bookmark everything because that just adds extra time at the end. To help, take the time to read each question thoroughly. Watch out for those where it says which of these is not, for example, or anything that has all of the above as an answer choice. If you can clearly eliminate one of those choices, you know that all of the answer choice is wrong, right? Read all of the answers before picking yours. There's always one correct answer, but there might be some that look like there's more than one, but there's always one most correct answer. So take the time to read all of them first. All right. I don't know about you, but I'm always wondering about what happens next, either good or bad. So being confident in what will happen after my exam is another piece to having a successful exam. So you do it. You earn your certification. You can print your certification right from your NHA login or request one complimentary printed copy. You know, the one you get on fancy paper with a card, you can do that from your login. But also, once you've earned your certification, tell us about it. Go online and to any social media platform, and we want to hear from you. We want to celebrate along with you. We highly recommend that you add your credentials to your resume. If you have a LinkedIn profile, employers will Google you. So make sure that they can see that you have your certification. Put them after your name and your email signature, right? Make sure it's clear that you're certified. And did you know NHA has a job board on our website? You can search open roles right from there. And then be sure to bookmark that website so you can come back to it quickly and easily at any point. Now, what happens if your first exam attempt isn't successful? Let's talk about that, right? It's okay. So this is a visual aid to talk about how exam attempts work. From your eligibility to test, you can then apply for and schedule your first NHA exam. If you don't make the minimum score to pass, then you can apply for another attempt, but you can't take that exam for at least 30 days. This gives you time to review, prepare further. Okay, what happens if I don't pass the next exam attempt? Well, then it's another 30-day wait period, and you would need to apply for that exam again. Each new attempt is just like the first in process. So unless you're in an academic program that will pay for the cost of a retake, that may mean a new exam fee each time. This is why good study habits, which we were talking about, right, are so important. Now, following this same pathway, let's say a third attempt is non-passing as well. This is when things start to change. From that point, you will be required to wait a full year before you can try the exam again. And from there, another full year before you can try it again. Now, this is all for the same type of exam. So this is not if I'm studying for phlebotomy and medical assisting. Those are different. It's only from phlebotomy to phlebotomy to phlebotomy. All right? So now, ideally, we don't want you to be doing this, right? We don't want you to have to take this test over and over again. That's why taking the time and really putting in the work to study and see that growth using your reporting, using your focused review is really what we hope for. Then, even if you don't pass in your first attempt, we know it's possible to make your second attempt better, and it is completely possible to be certified, even if you don't pass in your first attempt. We see it happen all the time. Now, we know that not everyone who doesn't pass will retake it, but those who choose to retest, who use these materials we've been talking about and follow best practices in studying, like we've discussed, have a much higher possibility of passing the exam in that second attempt and earning their certification. So we see it statistically. It is definitely possible. But we also know that those who do it before their first attempt have an even higher likelihood of passing without even ever needing a retake, which would be what we'd prefer, right? That would be ideal for everyone. So this is an example of just one of our candidate testimonials. We love hearing from you. We know that working in healthcare is hard, but also incredibly rewarding. We are so proud of all of you for taking the first step on this road. So know that you're not just changing your life, but the lives of those around you. They're watching. They can see how hard this is and the dedication you're putting into it. And I promise it does make a difference. It can. So we've got lots of these inspiring testimonials on our YouTube channel. I can't wait to see yours, right? Once you've earned your certification, let us celebrate with you. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what to expect next. We're going to get to some Q&A here in just a second. So we're going to post here in the chat box that survey. So remember, anybody who's here at this point, you can fill out this little brief survey, and it's actually going to put you into a raffle for a $50 gift card. So please open that link right away, fill it out. Also, we have been recording. Everybody who registered for today will get an email in the following week with that recording in it. So please keep an eye on that. And then I think we can get to open questions. I know they're grabbing that link here for the chat, so we should see that populate in just a second. But I'd love to hear from the team. What were the major questions that we've had here today?
Yeah, hey Laura, it is Hannah. We had some really good questions. One of the ones that we got multiple times is around scoring on the certification exam. I was just going to see if you could take a couple of minutes to explain the scaled scoring.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
So let me just go back and grab that. That was early. So some of you might have missed that if you joined us a little bit late. No worries. Let me find it. Hold on. I gotta find that link. Here it is. All right. So how does this work? NHA creates a variety of questions based off of the different topics that are from the test plan. So there'll be we're seeing here, provide basic patient care under the direction of nursing staff. Right. Okay, so that's a topic. Well, then our test development committee, they work on creating a bunch of great test questions. Well, then those questions are evaluated by primarily how hard is the question. That's the biggest piece of that, but other things are included. So how often in your job you're gonna have to do this thing, right? If you're an MA, you're gonna be rooming patients all the time, every day. You should probably know what you're doing. Or urgency, that's how important is it you get it right the first time? Think about CPR. I hope as a medical assistant, you never have to perform CPR. But oh my gosh, if you do, you better get it right. So there are different layers built into it, and all of those are developed into a numerical value. So all of the questions are evaluated, and every test has the same blueprint. So you'll have the same amount of questions as your neighbor, but the questions you get may be different. So every test has a maximum point score to make sure that we're scoring you fairly against your neighbor. What if they get 5 easy questions in a category and you get 5 hard ones? Well, just saying a 70% to pass wouldn't be fair. We want to make sure that you're being assessed fairly. So that's why we have that cut score as it's labeled. So 500 is a perfect score, and 390 is the minimum you need to get to earn your certification, to pass that exam. So that's the weighted score compared to when we're looking at your practice tests, which are just going to show you your percentage of accuracy across those exams. So it's a little bit of a different process. Hannah, does that answer that question?
It does, yeah. And then just to reiterate, they were saying, if 150 questions, how many do I need to get right to pass? And
It doesn't work that way,
yeah, it doesn't work.
unfortunately. Yeah, it's not like once you hit 40, you're in the clear. Like, no,
Yeah.
it's not quite how that works. As
Yeah.
many as possible. That's how many you need to pass, as many as you can.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Someone, just a reminder, someone did raise their hand. So if you do have a question, please post it into the Q&A. Unfortunately, we don't even have the ability to have you come off of mute. So to the person that raised their hand, maybe it was an accident, but if not, put your question in the Q&A. And then Laura, would you also talk a little bit again about exam eligibility?
Oh, sure. Eligibility to test. Actually, let's go out to our main website and we can talk about that. So eligibility to test, there's a couple different pathways, and probably the easiest is going to be going out. This is our live website. So I want to find out if I'm eligible to test for the MA exam, for example. Now this is where I can also get the test plan. I'm going to follow this button here to get certified. And you actually have links to this directly from your NHA candidate login once you create that. But I can take this little quiz to see if I qualify to be eligible to test. Right from here, I can also download the candidate handbook. All of your questions, I promise. There isn't probably a question that exists that we can't answer from the candidate handbook, but it's really big, it's really thick. But if you really, really want to know, that's where you should go. But the easy way is to check your eligibility. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to select, what was I looking at? MA. Okay. And then it's going to ask me a couple of key questions. Have I successfully completed a medical assistant training program in the last 5 years? So this is pathway 1, academic completion. An academic program that is within the medical assistant field or content. Have I completed that in the last 5 years? And I'm going to say no. Do I have 1 year of work experience in this role in the last 3 years? And I'm going to say yes. Do I have a high school diploma or GED? In this situation, for the medical assisting, it's okay if you don't, but you do need to be within 1 year of earning your high school diploma or GED. So here we go. Do I expect to earn it in the next 12 months? I do. Great. Good news. You're eligible. So there's 2 key pathways. Have you completed academic work? And that can include military experience, that can include employer-based training. So a lot of that just depends on your program. Or are you actively working in the role, and have you done that at least a full year in the last 3 years? Either pathway, you don't need both. One or the other will be sufficient for eligibility to test. Great questions, though. Are there any other questions on
Great.
that?
Thank you. Yes, I think we have 2 more big ones. Would you just speak a little bit to the new materials that are coming out or the new test plan that's coming out in January? There was some discussion around what if I, take my CCMA exam in December and don't pass, then waiting that 30 days, kind of that funky
Yeah, that's
one-off.
fun, isn't it? Yeah. So, okay. So this happens across the board. We have to keep updated with our exams in order to stay under that industry need, right? We're constantly evaluating what we're going to be testing people on. And we just experienced this for the administrative assistant. We just launched this past year the new CMAA exam. But we were talking about the CCMA, right? That's the question that we have here. What do I do if I'm testing near when that exam is going to launch? So if you're testing before that exam has launched, then you will be using the current NHA materials, right? That's going to be, and I'm just going to scroll down, you kind of see some of the information based off of the current test plan. Everyone right now is testing under the current test plan. But in January, so this is where we've got the current one. In January, this is going to update to a new test plan, which actually is available out on our website. This just isn't it. And you know what, Hannah, I think we should take this as a note for our team that the new one should be there too. Can we write that down? Make sure we take that back. Okay, so I'm gonna go out here so you guys can see. I'm actually going to go into this category because I know it's going to take me where I want to be. And I'm going to scroll down. There we go, to the test plan. So for those of you, and I can even post this in the chat if you want to, the new test plan is going to launch in January. And I'm going to just post that here in the chat. There we go. So this is what the new one will be on. Now, the good news is that it's not really changing dramatically. There's a couple of key things that we're updating, upgrading to it. It's more about an organization structure of how we're putting these things together than really the content itself. A little bit of modernization, some inclusion of like telehealth, which isn't really leveraged in the current one. So if you're testing prior to the exam launch, do the best you can, study hard, right? But if you don't pass and the new exam launches in your 30-day wait period, you will be testing under this new test plan. If you were provided the NHA study materials in the last year and have touched them in the last 6 months, and if that has happened and you don't yet have your certification, we will upgrade your materials to the new materials when that exam goes live. So that's going to happen if you're in that situation. It's a very specific situation, but I want you to know we're not going to force you to rebuy the new materials or for someone to give it to you. We're going to update it, but only if they've been given to you in the last year and you've been active in them, right? And you don't yet have your certification. So you will be able to study under those new materials, do a practice test, take a look at some of the new content under this new test plan. I see there's a question, billing and coding. We just updated that a couple years ago. That isn't on the deck right now to update. Right now, it's just the MA. We're currently, I don't know what the next one is that we're going to be focused on. It's not even in the works yet. Like we don't even have the new test plan out. So this is only really impacting your medical assisting candidates who are testing in this late December or early January. So that unique niche of folks, that's the only people who would really be impacted. If you're testing in mid to late January, this is your test plan. And you want to be looking at the 3.0 study materials. So that's the one that you want to purchase or you want to make sure your employer is giving you or account program is giving you. Great questions.
There's quite a few in the Q&A that we can answer directly, but someone did ask if you can go over the sign up process again, and I'm assuming they're referring to the certification exam. So I know we're kind of running short on time, but I thought maybe you could
like to register for your test.
Yeah, that's what I think. And
okay.
yeah,
Well,
you're just
yeah. Let me see if I can help you out with that. So it's really simple. To be frank, once you have your login. So if you don't have a login yet, and you need to create your account. If you're not sure, double check, right? So do make sure that before you create a login, that you double check with your institution that they don't have a special process for you. We want to make sure if they have a special process for you, that you follow it. We don't want to mess anything up, right? But if they don't, you'll have a login here. And you can see in this instance, I actually have an application in process, but I can just go apply for my exam right here. And then it's going to take me through my application process. I select the certification type that I want and then go through. You can see you've got this little bar up here. It's really simple. You just kind of follow the steps and it takes you through all those different steps. So if you're worried about it, you can actually access some how-tos. We've got a how-to library right here that will walk you through all sorts of downloads for you. How do I buy my materials? How do I apply for my test? How do I print my certification once I earn it? All those things are right there. And we also have a couple other pieces here to help. So.
Thanks, Laura.
Yeah. All right. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to stay on and get the final Q&A questions answered. So I do want to thank you all so much for being here with us today. Thank you for joining. You will be receiving this recording. Please, Lauren, if you would post that that survey link one more time so that people can have that, fill it out. You'll be put into a raffle for a $50 gift card. Thank you, Lauren. Keep an eye out. We've got other webinars each month. We'd love to see you again and good luck on your exam. We'll be sticking around here to answer a couple more questions before we close up.